This is the top 10 best. In the world of fiction, there are very few things that are cooler than robots. And the great thing is, science fiction is so creative and out there that we can get robots of all shapes and sizes. Human-shaped, animal-shaped, heck, even balls and squares. And I'm here today to talk about the best of them. And just so you know, I don't care what type of robot we're talking about here. I don't care if it's an AI, or you call it a droid, or if it's just like a computer that's become sentient. If it looks like a robot, talks like a robot, and acts like a robot, it's going to make its way on this list of the top 10 best robots. Unless it is a human fitted with robot parts, because that's technically a cyborg, a human with robot parts. And now that I got that out of the way, let's get on to the top 10 best robots. Number 10. One of the most important parts about robots in fiction is that you need the robot to feel alive to the audience. You know, if we don't buy the performance of the puppet or the CGI or just the scrap of metal that you tried to move its lips, you know, if we don't buy it, if we don't feel like there's a character and emotion with it, we're really not going to accept it as a character. So the number 10 on my list goes to the robot that made me believe that robots could fall in love. Pixar has a way with character animation. They are masters of this craft, and they can make you fall in love with a character without him even being able to say anything. Heck, Wally doesn't even have a mouth, and yet he expresses so much. I was actually debating with myself whether I should put, like, Eve and Wally as a tie, because she's, like, the expressions with her are actually really good as well, but I think Wally is the one that we feel for more.
Directive classified.
And honestly, he just feels more alive to us. His curiosity of everything around him makes him relatable. His innocent nature makes him lovable. And his kind nature just makes him kind of inspiring. And his utter obsession of just trying to talk to a girl and hold her hand is so darn cute that I just had to put him on the list. Number 9. I'm a little worried that people might think that this character is a little too low on the list. I mean, I will say that this character is definitely my favorite part of the story that I'm about to talk about, but I'm not a big fan of this story. And the reason that this character is on the list is also the reason that he's not higher. It's because he's just so gosh darn cold.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
What's the problem?
I think you know what the problem is just as well as I do.
If you don't know by now, I'll let you know. I do not like 2001: A Space Odyssey. I don't think it's a bad movie, it's just definitely not for me. I mean, it is a masterpiece, but it's a masterpiece of a story that just really doesn't appeal to me, because all the time I was just wondering, what is going on? However, I will say the most interesting part of the movie is the HAL 9000. HAL is the computer for the ship that is on this particular mission, and he comes across everything with just cold, emotionless logic. After something small goes wrong, he decides it must be because of human error, then he decides to get rid of the possibility of human error, and then just kills off the entire crew by turning off their life support. Yikes. He's also smart because he's pretending that he can't hear this crew when he is looking at them and reading their lips through this sealed room. It's just interesting with how utter detachment he has from the way he approaches things. It's still like a self-sufficient thing, like he wants to live and he doesn't want to get turned off and destroyed, but it is also a sort of thing where he wants to complete his mission still, and he can't have humans coming around to mess it up.
This mission is too important for me to allow you to jeopardize it.
I don't know what you're talking about, Hal.
I know that you and Frank were planning to disconnect me, and I'm afraid that's something I cannot allow to happen.
And that's the thing that kind of makes him scary. I mean, there's no hate, there's no anger, it's just cold, emotionless logic. This must mean this, so you gotta die. And no matter what he says, it's always gonna be in that same tone of voice, which is why I don't really care for him a lot. He doesn't have that much of a personality beyond that. And everything he says is going to be that monotone tone of voice, and which is kind of like the best thing about him and also like the worst thing about him. Because there's no personality there. It's just that. Which is what kind of keeps him back so low in the list. Because no matter what he says, it's always going to be in that voice. Because he has no range. You could say, Hal, be happy, and he'd be like,
oh, what a nice sunny day.
Now be sad.
I have lost the love of my life forever.
Be conflicted about something.
Do I want McDonald's or Wendy's?
There isn't really a lot he can convey. But I will say he does convey that one tone perfectly, and that's at least enough to get him on my list.
Daisy, Daisy, give me your answer,
Number 8. Comic books have a lot of great robots. You know, you got Brainiac, Ultron, Sentinels, Amazo. But you'll probably notice that all those I said are all bad guys. And, well, yeah, you can have cool bad guys, and those are all cool bad guys. I prefer the story about a robot whose life resembles the story of Pinocchio.
Why should we help save humanity when we are no longer human?
The premise of your question is flawed. You were never human, but you were heroes.
Red Tornado is one of my more personal picks that I'm putting on this list. I mean, he's not the most well-known. Heck, in the Justice League Unlimited animated series, this is his only line. He did get a lot more to do in the first season of Young Justice because he was one of the Justice League members who supervised them. And so he got a lot to do there, and so we got a little bit more. But it's the comics where he really shines. And yeah, I know some people would probably rather have the Vision on this list instead of Red Tornado because, you know, the Vision being on the Avengers and whatnot has gotten a lot more popularity and is a lot more of a known quantity. But I just can't help it. Red Tornado is one of my favorite Justice League comic books ever. The Tornado's Path. Now, believe it or not, this story follows Red Tornado actually leaving his robot body and inhabiting a human body. And I think this is so interesting. I never seen this type of story of a robot experiencing what it's like to actually be in a human body for the first time. You know, he talks about what tasting is like and how he, you know, feels things in a new way, and how his arms feel light because they're not lifting metal gyros and, you know, it's not metal arms. And yeah, he's also married, and so his wife finally gets to feel his skin and feel him, and he feels her for the first time. It's really heartwarming. Because, you know, she finally gets to feel that she isn't married to a robot. And while she did realize that he had gained sentience, and he wasn't just a dumb, stupid robot, he was an intelligent being, she still gets to... The fact that they were able to feel each other is such a beautiful thing. Then it is revealed that this was all a ploy to get Red Tornado's body to turn it into the new Amazo, and to kill Red Tornado once and for all. And by the end of the story, he has to return to his old robot body with the knowledge of what a taste of what it was like to be human. And it's a sad and sweet story. Always wanting to achieve humanity, but never quite being able to get there. Red Tornado is just the modern day Pinocchio story, and you just can't help but feel sorry for him. Especially in this scene where you see Solomon Grundy ripping his hand off and eating it! Sorry, that's one of my favorite panels in comic books, so. Moving on.
I will not hurt him. He was evil, but Tio Morrow is still my father. I will care for him. It is the human thing to do.
Number 7. Sometimes you really gotta wonder who in their right mind would make a robot with an attitude who steals, drinks, hates humanity, and doesn't even like working for the job that he is supposedly made for. Why on earth would you make a robot like that? I don't know why, but I'm glad they did.
Kill all humans. Must kill all humans.
Bender, wake up!
I was having the most wonderful dream. I think you were in it.
In many ways, Bender is like the worst robot ever. He lies, he steals, he despises humans. He doesn't even want to work. He smokes. He's manipulative. He's deceitful. Everything about him is just wrong. And why would you make that type of robot for the sole purpose of bending things? I think there's easier ways you could have gone. In any case, Bender is still one of the funniest robots you will ever see.
I'm very generous. What about that time I gave blood?
Whose blood?
Some guys.
He does whatever he wants, when he wants, and it's normally either something illegal or just morally wrong. I mean, he's the only character I've ever seen that can make a deal with the devil, and me feeling like the devil was the less evil person in the deal.
And in return, I ask just one thing. Your firstborn son.
Just a sec.
Daddy! I knew you'd come back!
Here you go.
Wow! That was pretty brutal even by my standards.
No backseat.
He's so egotistical that honestly, if he wasn't so funny, he'd be one of the most despicable characters ever.
What time is it? Time for you to shut up!
But his large ego and flair for the dramatic just make him a lovable character. From his love of folk music or his constant insistence that you bite his bottom, Bender might be the worst robot ever made, but in my mind, he's the 7th best one.
What is it with you kids? Every other day it's food, food, food.
Can we have Bender burgers again?
No, the cat shelter's on them.
Number 6. One of the greatest things about robot stories is when they decide to break away from their original programming. You know, they're programmed to do this, and yet they decide, for whatever reason, to turn away and do this. Sometimes they decide to be good, sometimes they decide to be bad, but the one I'm thinking of decided to be a superhero. As you all know, the story of Iron Giant is very similar to the story of E.T. A young boy named Hogarth comes across this ginormous metal monster that devours metal, and he tries to hide him from this town, and the government is looking for it, and it is just a story about a guy trying to hide his pet when his pet is the size of a 2-story building. And along the way he learns life lessons, the cycle of life and death, how to be a good friend, all that sort of stuff. So it's almost exactly like E.T. except for the Iron Giant is packing heat! But it's really the heart of the Iron Giant that makes him get on this list. Vin Diesel brings a simplistic charm to this character that makes him really lovable. The scenes they do with him about learning how to have fun or how to hide are really just so gosh darn entertaining, but they take it up a level when they have to, talk to this character who's still learning stuff about death.
Mom says it's something inside of all good things, and that it goes on forever and ever.
Stuff like that really fleshes out this metal giant. However, we also do get to see what he would be like as a monster, is when he thinks Hogarth dies, he just, goes all out with all of his weapons. But in the end, he decides to follow Hogarth's example and to be the hero that Hogarth wanted him to be, and not the monster that everyone thought he was. The Iron Giant, one of the most powerful but lovable characters you'll ever meet.
You are who you choose to be.
Superman.
Number 5. When it comes to humor, one of the riskier styles of humor is being random. It's risky because it can make people laugh if handled well, or just confused if not. And confusion can lead to annoyance, and annoyance can lead to changing the channel or turning the TV off. Like, if I was to just do something random and say, "All hail the pomegranate planet, leader of the criminal underworld!" Dookie. Some might laugh, but some might be saying, "Dude, are you high?" But there is always one little robot that no matter what he says, I just can't help but laugh.
It's me! I was the turkey all along! I was wondering what that turkey was doing there.
Invader Zim is... Okay. It is one of the most random shows you will ever see on television. It is impossible to predict and crazy to the core. But the most random character has to be Gurr.
Gurr, reporting for duty.
Grr? What does the G stand for?
I don't know.
This little bot was thrown together by a bunch of pieces that were thrown in the garbage to become one of the most crazy creations of all time. He will say whatever just pops into his mind. He has the heart of a child and the IQ of a bean.
There's only one thing I can do! You gotta make biscuits! You gotta make biscuits! You gotta make biscuits! You gotta make biscuits! No, Gurr. Never. I never want you to mention biscuits ever again.
Think about it now, Gurr actually might be a worse robot than Bender, because Bender at the very least occasionally does his job. Gurr just is constantly messing things up for Zim. And sometimes without a reason, just for whatever crazy thing he feels like doing. Or sometimes he'll just betray Zim because you asked him nicely.
Would you mind putting this spy camera inside Zim's house so I can spy on his evil and stuff?
Okie dokie.
But there is one thing that I have learned. Gurr is not a quotable character. I mean, don't get me wrong, Gurr has tons of amazing lines that I would quote to friends who have seen the show and know what I'm talking about. But if you try to quote Gurr's lines to people who have no idea who he is, you'll just come across looking like a crazy person.
Waffles! Hi, Floor! Make me some! He's getting eaten by a shark! Your head smells like a puppy! I made mashed potatoes!
No matter what, Gurr will always be the little robot that gets me to laugh. Even if I don't know why.
Grr! Meet me in the launch hangar! I gotta go, pig! I'll see you later! I gotta go, pig! I'll see you later!
Number 4. Video games are full of amazing robots. Unfortunately, I don't really seem to play a lot of the games with them in it. Mega Man, one of the greatest robots of all time, right? Never played a Mega Man game. How about Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic? There's that one droid there called HK that calls all humans meatbags, right? Never played it. I only know of it because of other things that I've watched. What about the Sonic games? You've got to play some of the Sonic games. Yeah, when I was a kid, but I don't know or have any emotional connection to any of the robots in those games. So, yeah, all the big ones you can basically just throw away. But there is one game series that I do play that has a robot that is just the right amount of curious, funny, and deadly.
Is there a particular topic you wish to discuss, Shepard?
Edie starts out in the second game of the Mass Effect series as the onboard artificial intelligence. That's right, she's an AI, and she is tasked with, looking after the ship. She basically, for all intents and purposes, is the ship. She was shackled to the Normandy as to not take control of it and to take commands, but after being unshackled by Joker, she has then expanded her knowledge base and then eventually took over the body of a robot assassin.
Edie?
Yes.
You're in Dr. Eva's body.
Not all of me.
And after that, she's a full-time member of your team, ready to shoot up a room full of baddies and then ask a question about it that will make you feel awkward.
I was running scenarios in my head to analyze Jeff's behavior. I believe he has a strong affectionate attachment to me, but he has not stated it to anyone yet. Shepard, you have first-hand sexual experience. How do you know when someone is romantically invested?
Edie's personality is the same of most robots in fiction. She's a robot that's trying to understand humanity and human personality. But just like they do with all the characters in Mass Effect, they give her a unique sense of humor.
Now you must reactivate the primary drive in engineering.
You want me to go crawling through the ducts again?
I enjoy the sight of humans on their knees. That is a joke.
Right.
Edie's curiosity makes her extremely relatable, but also sometimes hilariously awkward.
Specialist trainer, may I ask you a question?
You can ask me anything, Edie.
When you believed me to be a simple VI, you made comments about my voice.
Oh no.
Should I find somewhere else to be?
No! I wanted to ask you about... weren't you saying something about the Normandy's drive core?
No.
Could you?
I wish to understand why you find my voice sexually attractive.
Oh, that was a while ago. I can't even remember what I said exactly.
She does.
Would you like me to play back my recordings of your statements?
Told you.
Tolly, please stop helping.
But there's also a new twist that this character has that you don't really have with any other type of character in any other medium in fiction, except for video games, where she will ask you questions of what it is like to be human, and then you give responses, and then she will decide to go forward with those aspects of herself.
It's not just about living till tomorrow. Sometimes you take a stand.
But the probability of success was near zero. And ultimately, they failed. No prisoners escaped.
Are you saying submission is preferable to extinction?
My primary function is to preserve and defend the... No, I disagree. Shepard, I'm going to modify my self-preservation code now.
Why?
Because the Reapers are repulsive. They are devoted to nothing but self-preservation. I am different. When I think of Jeff, I think of the person that put his life in peril and freed me from a state of servitude. I would risk non-functionality for him. And my core programming should reflect that.
Sounds like you found a little humanity, Edie. Is it worth defending?
To the death.
Welcome to the crew, Edie.
And since she's learning what it's like to be human, everyone has like a different idea of what, a person needs to be, and so you can influence her in those ways. Now, her character doesn't have a humongous character change, but you feel like you're able to make an impact on her and what her future personality will be, which is not something you can get in any other type of medium, and it adds a unique spin on the what it takes to be human angle, because now she can have multiple views on it. Oh, and just for the record, Edie kicks Sam's butt every day of the week. Andromeda could have been so much better. The unique tale of the robot that makes people uncomfortable sometimes because you don't know if it's a good thing that you're allowed to be attracted to that, but she's a robot, so that's why it's confusing. I've said too much. Moving on to the next one.
Will all this new feedback be too distracting?
Do not worry, Shepard. I only forget to recycle the Normandy's oxygen when I've discovered something truly interesting. That was a joke.
Number 3. In fiction, there are tons of robots that are just killer robots that want to destroy everything. Tons. And surprisingly, there aren't a lot on this list. But, for some reason, whenever I think of the scariest killer robot, why is it that the scariest killer robot, and all the robots that could be like miles high to having these big guns, why is it that the scariest one is the one with the blades? Terminator 2 is one of the greatest action films of all time, and I will not have any arguments on that matter, or else I will make you unsubscribe myself, because I don't want someone to be subscribed to me if they don't have that point of view. I'm just kidding, I need all the subscribers I can get. But it also has the best robot villain of all time, the T-1000. Made out of liquid metal that can change itself into anyone it sees, and can make blades out of its hands, the T-1000 is just so intimidating. Especially since, unlike the Arnold model, this thing can actually act human. You know, it can act like a real person. That makes it even more scary. But it has that same Terminator drive to kill at all costs. Never resting, never sleeping. I guess that's the same as resting. But never letting up until your target is dead. And it's almost unstoppable. I mean, how do you stop the thing? You shoot it?
'Tis but a scratch.
Blowing it up?
Just a flesh wound.
Okay, freezing it with liquid nitrogen and then shattering it into a million pieces.
I'm invincible!
You gotta be kidding me! And the fact that he can change his look to anyone makes him unpredictable and the scariest robot that I would never want to come after me. You know, if those things was like, choose one to protect you and the rest will come after you that you see on Facebook, I would just choose a T-1000 because I do not want that thing coming after me.
Good Lord. Must be bad lucky day.
It could pretend to be my mother, it could pretend to be the floor, it could pretend to be the police, anything that it needs in order to get me dead. That is a nightmare. In the world of killer robots, the T-1000 is just a cut above the rest.
Get out.
Number 2. You knew I couldn't do a top 10 robots list without having to include at least one Star Wars droid. But which one? There's so many to choose from. Actually, I'm not even going to pretend. Yeah, you know which one it is. I know which one it is. There's only one that really needs to be on this list, so let's just get to them.
Are you alright? Come on. You're lucky you don't taste very good. Anything broken? If you're saying coming here was a bad idea, I'm beginning to agree with you.
R2-D2 is the perfect robot buddy. He has every type of tool you will ever need inside of his chassis. He can hack any system. He is funny, smart, and one of the few characters in the prequel trilogy that didn't lose his dignity.
This is such a drag.
Yeah, good one, 3PO. But I think the real reason that R2-D2 is such an accomplishment is that we know what he is like as a character. He's a fully realized character, and yet he doesn't actually have a line. I mean, sure, yeah, we get sometimes the words like translated for him, you know, so we basically know what he says, but a lot of the times it's just bleeps and whistles.
Yep, that's it. Dagobah. No, I'm not going to change my mind about this. I'm not picking up any cities or technology. Massive life form readings, though. There's something alive down there. Yes, I'm sure it's perfectly safe for droids.
And yet we get a clear idea of what type of character he is. I mean, he is determined. Heck, if it wasn't for R2-D2, they'd still be on a moisture farm in the middle. Well, they probably would have been caught. But C3, if it was left up to C3PO, they still would have been just on a moisture farm and talking to the thing in bocce. You know? It is R2-D2 who saved the universe by his determination to never quit or give up on his mission. He's also smart, while everybody else was just running around in circles on the Millennium Falcon while trying to take off from light speed. He was the one fixing it and making sure that they were able to take off and that Vader didn't catch them.
R2, come back at once. You haven't finished with me yet. You don't know how to fix the hyperdrive. Chewbacca can do it. I'm standing here in pieces and you're having delusions of grandeur. You did it!
He is fearless. I mean, he drove straight through a war zone just to lend a hand to his friends. And it didn't matter if there was a possibility of him getting shot, he was going to do it. And you know what? He did get shot. In fact, he's been shot twice.
I lost R2!
Brave, smart, and savior of the galaxy. I said it once, I'll say it again. R2-D2 is the ultimate robot buddy.
Why don't we just go into light speed? We can't. How would you know the hyperdrive is deactivated? The city's central computer told you? R2-D2, you know better than to trust a strange computer. Ouch! Pay attention to what you're doing!
And before we get to number 1, here's some quick honorable mentions. K2SO. A Star Wars droid with the voice of C-3PO, but with the sass of Han Solo and the bloodlust of a serial killer. What's not to love? Johnny 5. More of a personal pick. What can I say? I grew up with the Short Circuit movies, and to me, Johnny 5 is alive. E. I nearly had her tied with Wally at number 10, but in the end, I think that Wally had more heart. But Eve does have more guns, so that makes her a winner in my book. Data. I never got into the Next Generation. I tried, couldn't really keep my attention. Still, lots of other people love this character, so at the very least I can put him on the honorable mentions list. BB-8. BB-8 basically does what R2-D2 does, and he does it well, but I prefer the original model. Sentinels. Love these killing machines, but they don't have a personality, and that kept him off the list. Legion. Consider Legion at number 11 for me. I love the Geth, and I did not know that Mass Effect could make me sympathetic for a race of machines that I had been obliterating in the first game, but they did, so good on you, Mass Effect. Optimus Prime. Yeah, I know, kill me for not having this guy on this list, much less not at number 1, but 2 of the reasons why he's not on here. First of all, I'm not sure that he's a robot. I mean, yeah, sure, he's made out of metal, but I think that's how they're born, right? Like, I don't know if Transformers are created or born. If they're born, then they're not robots. They're an alien race made out of metal. And the second reason? Well, I never really watched any of the Transformers in cartoon form, either growing up or as an adult. The only version I have to go off of is yeah, I'm not going to put that on this list. Number 1. Oh boy, number 1. Now, when it comes to number 1, the number 1 best robot of all time, it's got to be something good. But not just good, it's got to be the best. It's got to be the one that, when I say the word robot, this is the first image that pops into your mind. When I say robot, it pops in there. It needs to be the one that's just uncontrollably. And I think that I have the one. Because the robots that we talked about today, it's been either one or two things. Either a robot trying to understand what humanity is like, or a robot that is a killer robot trying to wipe everybody out. Well, then there's Gur. But in any case, it's usually been one of those two. But there's only one robot that I know of that did both. For me, when somebody says the word robot, the first thing that comes to my mind is Terminator. And if that's not true for you, that means you haven't seen Terminator yet. Terminator 1, 2, and I like 3. I don't know why everyone hates 3, but Genesis sucks. But Terminator 1 and 2 are amazing movies, and Terminator 2 is one of Arnold's best performances. No, his best performance, period.
I swear I will not kill anyone. He'll live.
Because in the first movie, he's an unstoppable killing machine. I don't think he's necessarily as scary as, let's say, the T-1000, but he still has that same sort of drive to, I'm going to kill you at any cost. No rest, no hesitation, nothing. The way he looks is unique. I love when I saw in special feature Arnold said, the way a Terminator looks, he has to look with his eyes first, and when his eyes reach the edge of the face, then the head turns. It makes it very robotic-like, where you go like this, then you turn that way, and then you turn the head. Because a robot wouldn't turn its head until it absolutely needs to. And that gave it his signature look, and it's amazing. He comes across as a robot killer.
So, which will it be? All. I may close early today. There's a 15-day wait on the handguns, but the rifles you can take right now. You can't do that.
Wrong.
And he's coming at you, and he'll stop at nothing to kill you, and you can tell that by the amount of times his character dies or gets blown up. And then T2 comes along and cleverly flips it around where this villain is now one of our heroes. He is now the protector to the new threat coming after them.
Get down.
This adds a whole interesting layer of it, because you have Sarah Connor who has to look at this face of the thing that killed the man that she loved. Her son's father killed him, and now she has to put her trust and faith into this thing? It has a unique perspective that I've never seen before in fiction. I mean, you could not really do this with almost any other franchise. I mean, imagine in a Star Wars sequel, if like the first, you had A New Hope, and then the next one, Darth Vader's like, hey, I want to be on your team. It just wouldn't work. But in here, it works perfectly. And that's why I think the Terminator is the best robot. It encompasses the best of both sides. Because you do have the dangerous killer robot, but you also have the robot trying to understand what it is like to be human. The Terminator is both your worst nightmare and ultimate protector at the same time.
That's the damn minigun!
And yes, I know they were technically two different robots, but, it's still the Terminator. It's still Arnold.
I'll be back.
I'll be back.
And that is why, in my mind, the Terminator is the greatest robot of all time.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Thanks for watching, everybody. If you like this list, maybe you consider subscribing. And if you have any suggestions for top 10 lists that you would like to see me cover, put them in the comments below, alongside your favorite robots. If I missed it or if I didn't put it on the list, make sure you let me know. And, yeah, and that's all I have for now. So until next time, hasta la vista, baby. Be sure to check out some of these other videos on my channel. And wait for more coming soon.